Welcome to the Leadership School podcast. I'm your host, leadership and self-care coach, Kyla Cofer. Here at the Leadership School, you'll hear leaders from around the world sharing their stories and expertise on how to lead with balance and integrity. Our goal? Teach you how to be an extraordinary leader. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Leadership School. Thanks so much for joining me. So I really hope that today you're having a wonderful, glorious, beautiful day. And if you're not, maybe this could be some inspiration and motivation to turn things around for you. So I have a degree in psychology, and I've also spent a lot of time in like social work settings, in therapeutic settings, whether it's therapy by myself or working in recovery classes, being in recovery groups. I'm not in recovery, but I have a lot of people in my life that are in recovery. And I've actually been the leader of some recovery classes that I've had to lead and teach. So I've been leading some of these groups. And one of the things that I really enjoy talking about, because I think it's so effective, is what's called cognitive behavioral therapy. So you may have heard about this. It's a really popular and very well-known psychological technique, but it's the process of changing your actions, which is really like, we're talking about actions, we're talking about habits. So especially as adults, it's really, really challenging to change something about the way that we go about our lives, because we do things the same. You start learning how to do things when you're a child, and then you're just building on that and you repeat things over and over and over. So if you have, for example, brushed your teeth every single night for thousands of nights before you go to bed. I love this story because this happened to me. It's what I've done. Every night before I go to bed, I brush my teeth. Well, I remember one night I was really, really tired, and I thought, I'm just going to go to bed and skip brushing my teeth. I'm so tired. Well, I was so tired that all of a sudden I was standing in the bathroom holding my toothbrush. It had toothpaste on it, and I didn't remember how it got there because it was such a habit for me to do this as part of my routine. So as adults, we always show up doing these same habits. We repeat things over and over. Whether it's the way we respond in a relationship, how you respond in a text, whether you groan or you smile when you get out of bed in the morning, the first thing you do when you get out of bed, the way that your routine when you take a shower, all of these things, they're routines for us, they're habits. Our responses to when something negative happens to us, when somebody rejects us, or when we're feeling sad, angry, hurt, shame, the way we respond in those things become habitual. They become our actions. So cognitive behavioral therapy is a way to change these actions. And it goes like this, that our beliefs, the things that we believe to be true, and all of the thoughts that we have in our mind surrounding those beliefs lead to our actions. So, for example, if somewhere in your mind you believe that there's nothing wrong with drinking and driving, and your thoughts tell you, well, it's more important for me to just get home. I'm totally fine. There's nothing wrong. I can handle it. You're probably going to continue to drink and drive. But if your beliefs tell you there's something wrong with drinking and driving, it's not safe, it could hurt myself, it could hurt other people. Your thoughts tell you, I'm kind of drunk right now. Your actions are going to lead you to hand someone the keys and take an Uber home. Our beliefs and our thoughts lead to our actions. And a lot of times we're not really thinking about this. It's very kind of subconscious because our minds are extremely powerful. You already know this, but our minds have this incredible capacity to do whatever we need. And sometimes our minds start telling us stories that we believe that we don't really have an awareness of, that we're telling ourselves these stories. So if we really want to change a pattern that we have in our lives, we have to backtrack a little bit. And this will make sense how it applies to leadership. But this is Leadership School. We're teaching you how to be great leaders, and that includes all the tools that go with that. So if we are thinking, I want to give the people on my team dignity and respect, but yet every time we're around them, we think negative comments, we think negative thoughts about them. We believe that, in fact, they really aren't that great. We believe that we are better than they are. You see how this is going? Then what's our actions going to be? Our actions are going to show that. We are not going to give them the space that we need. We're not going to ask questions. We're not going to empower, inspire, motivate, enlighten, have compassion, have empathy, all these really great qualities. We're going to push aside. To change the way that we act, we have to change our beliefs. So if we are wanting, in that same example, to give dignity and respect, then we have to start believing that we are worth dignity and respect. We have to believe that the people we work with deserve dignity and respect. We have to believe that our neighbors, the people living next to you who smoke on their porch and it wafts into your house, that they deserve dignity and respect. Now, what does that actually look like and how does that play out? Well, that's going to depend on the thoughts that you have. Are my thoughts that this is important, that this matters, that this is a conversation that needs to happen? Are my thoughts that this person deserves to hear from me? Are my thoughts that positive coming into my mind about that person? That person's really great. I believe in that person. They can do this hard thing. I have this hard task and I believe that they are capable of it. And my thoughts are that I think that I can give this task to them, and that maybe I have to ask questions. Okay, does this make sense to you? Can I help you in any way? What kind of support do you need in this moment? How can I make your job better? How can I make you better in this situation? What do you need from me to be better? Our beliefs and our thoughts are going to lead to our actions. And to change the actions, you have to change the thoughts and the beliefs. But this has to go one step further, because if you just go, okay, yeah, I got it. You're going to turn your phone off, walk out tomorrow, you're going to forget all about it. You will completely forget. Or you might tomorrow, you'll be like, oh yeah, that one thing. I heard that podcast episode and I need to change my thinking. I need to change my beliefs. But a week from now, you're going to forget it. So I believe that there's one extra element that needs to be added into here, and that is intention. I was going to say planning, but I think it's really intention. Or maybe I could call it a lot of things. I could call it planning, purpose, goal setting, but we're going to call it intention. The intention is, when this happens next, when I'm experiencing this next, I want to do something different. So I have to put some things in place so that is possible. People who want to quit smoking use this. It's a really great tool. They're going to set a quit date. They're going to say, on March 1st, I'm going to quit smoking on that date. But you're not going to just quit smoking. You are going to make sure that you don't have cigarettes in your house. You're going to make sure that you have something else that you want to do with that cash that you would have spent on that. So that might be coming up with a new hobby. You're going to make sure that when you're really bored and anxious and worried, that you've got something else going on that can fill that gap for you. That's the intention behind changing our habits, behind changing our actions, behind changing our beliefs and our desires. It's saying, I'm going to choose to believe something different, and I'm going to change the thoughts behind that, and I'm going to set myself up for success. This works for anything. I just gave you a lot of examples. If you want to quit smoking, if you want to be better to your employees, I use it with my family, and sometimes I'm successful at it and sometimes I'm not. But when I'm not, it's because I haven't gone through this process of, what do I want to be different? What do I believe about myself? What do I believe about the other people? What thoughts and feelings do I have around that? And how do I want to be different? And how am I going to do that? How's that going to play out? And what's that going to look like? This is why therapy is really helpful, and coaching is really helpful, because you have people in your corner to kind of step you through it, and to also offer that support and accountability, which is another really important element. Because when we start to involve people in our lives and we start to talk about things, it starts to kind of lose that hold that that it has on us. And we start to feel like, oh, I can do this. I have that support. I have what I need. So and I've done that, and I've reached out to therapists and coach and friends when I've really, really struggled, because we all need that in our lives. We all need people. We all need connections in our lives. So to be able to say, hey, I'm going to start changing this thing. What can you imagine if you showed up at work and said, I want to start being different here at work. Can you help me? How do you think people would respond? Do you think people would go, F you? No. I think people would. It might depend on the attitude you've had while you've been there, and the relationships that you've built. They might say that, and you might just have to start putting in the work and making the effort. But most of the time, when you say to somebody, I want to change something and I could really use your help, people want to help. They want to show up for you, just like you would want to show up for them. Tell somebody, bring people into your goals. The more you bring people into your goals, the more likely you are to succeed, no matter that goal. If your goal is to start walking 10,000 steps a day, bring a coworker and say, hey, my goal is to walk 10,000 steps a day, which means that I need to take a lunch break and I need to walk on my lunch breaks. But I don't usually do that because I feel really lonely on my lunch breaks. Is there any chance that you would want to take a walk with me a couple times a week or every day or whatever is available to you, whatever you're willing to put into? Or is there any chance you would be willing to cover for me and support me so I can go do that and then cheer me on? Or maybe we could do a competition. Can do the most steps in their day? Maybe we can reward each other with a trip to a baseball game or something. Make it fun. Changing our actions, changing our habits doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be a task. It can be fun, but you have to have some things in place to help you succeed. So whatever you're wanting to do today, our goal is always to be better. Not that we're not great already, because you are. You're wonderful and amazing, and I believe in you. We can always be better. We're always searching for something better. To say, okay, today is great. What do I want more of tomorrow? What do I want to be different in my life tomorrow? How can I go about that? How can I prepare for it and plan for it? What is that intention behind it? Don't pick a lot of things. This is the real trick. On New Year's Eve, everybody wants a long list of New Year's resolutions. No, my friends. You need one. You want to pick one thing. And when that thing becomes your habit, then you can do another thing. But start with one and really excel on it. You're going to prove to yourself that you can do it. You're going to have a lot of pride in yourself for accomplishing your goal. And it will change your life. And once you've got that one thing mastered, then we can add to another one. All right. So my goal is I want to become a leader in this company. Okay. Well, what does that leadership look like? What specific leadership role are you wanting? Do you just want to be the leader of the current team you're on? Do you want to be the director? Do you want to be the executive director, the president? Do you want to own the company? What level of leader does that mean for you? Okay, great. You can totally do that. That sounds amazing. Is this really what you want? Is this the team you want to be on? Is this the team you want to lead? Awesome. You have got this. What's it going to take to get there? And we're going to use the tools that we're talking about here at Leadership School to get us there. If you want to show up differently at work, if you want to be in a leadership role and you're not in one right now, what about your beliefs? What about your thoughts are leading you to these actions to show up every day and not have leadership roles? Do you believe that you're not good enough to do it? Are your thoughts telling you it would be too hard? And then your actions are that you just show up every day and you sit at your desk and you type away and you answer a few phone calls and you go home and binge watch TV? Okay, great. But you have to know that if you're going to continue to do that, you're going to continue to stay in that job and you're not going to have a higher leadership role that you really, really want. If you want that higher leadership role, what's it going to take? Do you need some more education? If you need more education, maybe you need the belief that you're capable of getting more education. Well, it's too expensive. Oh, it would take 4 years. I don't know if the time and the energy, and it sounds exhausting. Well, okay. Those are your thoughts that you have around that belief. They're just thoughts. You can make it happen. You're totally capable. It's only a few years. Yeah, it might be expensive. How could you afford it? That's just an obstacle. It's just an obstacle. It's not the end game. You can totally do it. What kind of job would you have to that could pay for that? How much money would you need to make to cover the education that you want to get you where you want to go? Would you be satisfied if you continued to stay in this job for the next 30 years and continue to stay in this exact space in your life for 30, 40 years without taking on those leadership roles that you were really created for? Would you be satisfied? If you are, then there, perfect. Don't change anything. Keep things as it is. No need. You're good to go. But if the answer is no, then you're going to have to put some work in. I heard Grant Baldwin say today in his podcast, Speaker Lab, go check it out. But he said, it's really simple. The steps to getting there are really, really simple, but they're not easy. Simple does not mean easy. It might mean hard work, but you are capable of it. To quote Glennon Doyle, you can do hard things. You are totally capable of it. So then we just have to figure out what's stopping you and what's holding you back. It's going to be your beliefs and your thoughts, because your action right now is that you're not doing anything. You're not moving forward into your goals, into the things that you want, into those leadership roles. And people need you in those leadership roles. because we need leaders who are compassionate, who have integrity, who have empathy, who have life balance. We need you in leadership roles. If you were created to be a leader, that means there's a role for you to be a leader somewhere. And you get to step up into that. It might be hard, but if your belief and your thought is that you can do it, even though it's hard, action is going to follow through with that. You're going to see amazing results. If you believe that it's impossible, if you aren't made for this, you aren't good enough, you're never going to get there, guess what your actions are going to show? Yeah, that it's never going to happen. You're never going to get there. Change your beliefs. Change your thoughts. Now, does this mean that when you go to bed tonight, when you wake up in the morning, your thoughts will be completely changed? And it'll be like you've walked through this magical door and everything's different? Well, maybe. That usually doesn't happen. Usually it takes some practice and it takes repetition. Because if you've continued to tell yourself the same story over and over and over for thousands of times, it's going to be hard to change those beliefs. Talked about the toothbrush story. When you've done that same thing over and over and over and created that habit, sometimes those habits are the words that we speak to ourselves. So if thousands of times you said to yourself, well, this is all I'm capable of, this is the only thing I'm at, this is what I can do, you're going to have to say thousands and thousands of times, I've got this. I'm meant for this. I can totally do this. I was born to be a great leader, to be a compassionate leader, to be a leader with courage and confidence. And the more you tell yourself that story, that belief, those thoughts, the actions will follow. Thank you for joining me on this journey to grow in our leadership. If you enjoyed this episode, you've got to check out the leadership and self-care coaching programs on my website at kylacofer.com. Let's change the world together.